We have the OKC Thunder taking on the Indiana Pacers. This is your 2025 NBA Finals prediction and preview video. Hit subscribe if you're new. Also hit the like button. Let's start off with the team that has home court advantage in the OKC Thunder. They match up very well with the Pacers, and the Pacers match up very well with them because they both have very good depth pieces. But when I look at Oklahoma so far, they have developed in every single series in this postseason. When you look at round one against the Memphis Grizzlies, the Grizzlies were not an elite team, but they did have talent on that roster with Desmond Bane, the same with Jaren Jackson Jr., also with Ja Morant. I know that Ja Morant went down to injury. Even if he was fully healthy, I still had OKC winning that series. But they made life hell on Jaren Jackson Jr. and the same with Desmond Bane. This has been the best defensive team all year long. In the postseason, especially in the regular season, their perimeter defense is amazing, and the same with their interior defense. But they went to 7 games with the Denver Nuggets. That's the only series so far that they have struggled in. A lot of that is because of the defensive adjustments early on. We know that Oklahoma went out there and they brought in Isaiah Hartenstein in free agency, and they made a trade to bring in Alex Caruso. In that Nuggets series, they did have a game to where they blew a huge lead in to the Denver Nuggets. Aaron Gordon hit the shot of all shots in that series. And you can say that the Denver Nuggets were dealing with injuries. Aaron Gordon was dealing with a hamstring injury, and MPJ was dealing with shoulder injury. At the same time, that defense against Jokic, the defense against Jamal Murray helped push them over the hump. Their defense in that series showed that they could go out there against any team in the NBA and they can clamp you up from the first quarter all the way to the fourth quarter. Part of the reason why I went to 7 games. SGA would have amazing games in this series, but Chet Holmgren would be inconsistent on the offensive end, and the same with J-Dub. But J-Dub had a terrible game 6. I will always go back and look at that game and say that's where a superstar was made. Even though he had a terrible game on the offensive end, he bounced back in game 7. Usually when young players go out there and they have a bad game in the playoffs, it's easy for them to go out there and just disappear for the rest of the series. But he had a huge game 7 with Chet Holmgren. Isaiah Hartenstein had a lot of bad moments in that series against Jokic. And not to say that he was a terrible defender in that series, because he wasn't. But Jokic, he could shoot the basketball at a high clip. He could stretch the floor. So what they basically did was pull Isaiah Hartenstein and his minutes. They still let him play. But they say, hey, Chet, go out there and be the main guy down low. We're going to go smaller. We'll put Alex Caruso on Jokic, and we'll just have Chet Holmgren slide over, or we'll just have Isaiah Hartenstein rotate on the back end. And it really helped them out. Alex Caruso has been one of the best defenders in the NBA for quite some time now. The reason why he went out there and he won that championship many years ago with the Los Angeles Lakers, that was his role, be a great perimeter defender and hit timely threes. His defense against Jokic in terms of hacking him, annoying him right there underneath the paint, pulling the chair over and over again, playing the passing lane, filling in those gaps, helped push them over the top. And that series against the Nuggets, it was so important for them to go out there and come back and win that series. That's the same team that won a championship many years ago against the Miami Heat. So they're battle tested. This is still a young Thunder basketball team. So a lot of people question, do they have the veteranship? Do they have enough pieces to go out there and actually make a finals run? The answer is yes. And when they went against the Minnesota Timberwolves, great defensive team. And then they have 2 very good offensive players. Anthony Edwards is one of the best players in the game, and Julius Randle. They made life a living hell on Anthony Edwards. They filled in those gaps. They played those passing lanes over and over again. But the biggest difference between that round 2 series and the round 3 series against the Timberwolves, against the Denver Nuggets, Chet Holmgren, J-Dub, very inconsistent. Against Minnesota, they are very consistent. In order to go out there and beat the Pacers, you need to play the passing lanes. But most importantly here, Shea has to be able to go out there and get to his spots over and over again. And I trust that he will. He's the best offensive player right now in the NBA. That may be a bit controversial, but he just won the MVP award. I know that a lot of people will say Giannis, they'll say Jokic. I'm talking about right now. He'll be the best offensive player on the court. He can get to his spots over and over again. And when I look at the Pacers, I am a bit concerned here. Not because their defense is bad, but Jalen Brunson, he was having a lot of good scoring outputs against the Indiana Pacers until game 6. Giannis had a lot of good games against the Pacers in the first round. I know that he's a bigger player. He's not a point guard. He's not a shooting guard. But he was able to go out there. He was able to have his way over and over again. And I look at Donovan Mitchell. He had a lot of good scoring outputs against the Pacers here. And the reason why I bring that up, Shai can get to his spots over and over again. That hesitation move is insane. And he is known to get to the free throw line over and over again, not because he's foul baiting. He's hard as hell to guard. And I feel like it's a bit disrespectful when I hear commentators say, and Doris Burke, especially, she comes out, she said, that's why I call him the free throw merchant. He just has a way to go out there and manipulate the defender's body to where you run into him, he goes up for an and one, or he just goes to the mid-range spot over and over again, and he can knock down threes. And he can do this without using screens over and over again. And I expect for them to run two-man game with J-Dub, run two-man game with Chet Holmgren, and the same with Isaiah Hartenstein. They're going to try their best to slow down this game. But if those pieces in J-Dub, and I expect for him to have a huge output in this series, and the same with Chet Holmgren, if they can continue to step up in a big way, this should be an easy series for the Oklahoma City Thunder on the offensive end. And besides your starting five here, when I look at the pieces that you have on the bench with Cason Wallace, Alex Caruso, Isaiah Joe, Aaron Wiggins, those are going to be key pieces in this matchup against the Pacers in terms of going out there and putting multiple bodies on Tyrese Halliburton. Halliburton is one of the best point guards in the game in terms of being a floor general. He's not known to go out there and have a scoring output like Shai on a consistent basis. He's not going to go out there and score 35 to 40 points over and over again. But he will do this. He can go out there and he can score 25 points, have 12 rebounds, have 15 assists with 0 turnovers. If that's going to be the case, you have to go out there and put that pressure on him over and over again. So having Alex Caruso pick him up in the backcourt, having a piece like that, having Shai being able to rotate over, not being able to be being picked on like how the Pacers picked on the New York Knicks with Cat, with Jalen Brunson, how they picked on the Cavaliers with Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland, because they don't have the size like OKC does. And they run those screens in the misdirection. It is a lot, and I mean a lot of versatility with Oklahoma's defense and the different lineups that they can give you. If they go smaller, if they go bigger, they can fill in those lanes and they can match the intensity with Miles Turner and the same with Pascal Siakam. Now, in terms of Isaiah Hartenstein, will he get big minutes or not in this series? That's going to be one of the biggest things to watch out for. For the simple fact of this, Miles Turner can shoot the basketball very well. He's shooting 40% from three in the postseason. You look at Pascal Siakam, this man had 39 points against the New York Knicks on very good, efficient shooting splits. He can go out there, he can go for 35 to 40 points if you're not careful. And just like Alex Caruso, he has an NBA championship to his name with the Toronto Raptors, and he did not get carried by Kawhi Leonard and by Kyle Lowry. That man was a huge part to why the Toronto Raptors beat the Golden State Warriors many years ago. And he's been a phenomenal player with the Indiana Pacers. So don't sleep on this Pacers team and the pieces that they have coming off the bench, and the same with what they have in their starting lineup. But I look at Alex Caruso, I look at Lou Dort. Those are going to be the two biggest defenders to be the telltale sign. Can they put enough pressure on the Pacers to turn the basketball over? The Pacers have done an excellent job of taking care of the basketball over and over again. But if you can go out there and work on your transition defense, and the transition defense with OKC was amazing in the regular season. They've taken a step back in the postseason, but it's still one of the best transition defenses that we've seen in the postseason in the last 5 to 10 years for a team. But when you go against this transition offense, you have to make sure that you run down the court. And I look at it from this standpoint. If Shai's able to go out there and get those free throws over and over again, it slows the game down. They get a chance to catch their breath. They get a chance to make adjustments. And be on the lookout for this one-on-one matchup here. We could talk about Shai versus Tyrese Halliburton, Pascal Siakam versus Chet, the same as Isaiah Hartenstein, clogging up the lane, being excellent rim protectors. The biggest matchup here is Coach Mike. He's never been in this situation before. He's never made this deep of a playoff run before to the NBA Finals. Rick Carlisle, he has in 2011. And the Dallas Mavericks, they were huge underdogs in that series. And I know that's a long time ago. That's over a decade ago. But that man outcoached Coach Eric with that Dallas Mavericks team. They used a lot of spacing, a lot of versatility on the offensive end, and a lot of misdirection with a lot of different screens. Don't be shocked if the Pacers go out there and they win game 1. And do not be surprised if this series goes to a game 7. But for OKC, I like their chances here. They have to be careful. And you cannot blow a game like how the New York Knicks did against the Pacers, and the same with how OKC blew that lead against the Denver Nuggets. Now let's talk about the Pacers here. The underdog, it seems like everyone is picking against the Pacers. Everyone has OKC winning this series. I picked against the Pacers before in the past. I'm not going to run away from it. But I will say this. Since the new calendar year, 2025, they have posted a record of 44-16. They have been amazing. One of the best teams in the NBA, and they deserve their respect. I look at Tyrese Haliburton. I came out in the Pacers video that was separate to the Pacers, and I said that Tyrese Haliburton, in my opinion, he's a superstar. And I think that he is. Now, you can disagree with that, but this man has hit clutch shot over and over again against the Milwaukee Bucks. He did the same thing against the Cleveland Cavaliers, and comeback victories, by the way, and the same against the New York Knicks. He's the main engine for this offense. But Tyrese Haliburton, he has to be aggressive in this matchup. You look at what OKC did against Anthony Edwards. They made him a non-factor on the offensive end. Now, Anthony Edwards is not the playmaker that Tyrese Haliburton is. I'm not saying that he has to go out there and chuck up 20 shots a game and just try to fade away from three over and over again. No, that's not his game. But if you can get to the lane on a consistent basis, get to the lane, put that pressure on OKC's defense, now it can open up those shooters. And the Pacers, they have to be able to shoot in this series. Oklahoma will make your life a living hell if you do not have a consistent three-point shot. And I think that the Indiana Pacers will come out guns blazing with Nesmith, Andrew Nembhard, Aaron Nesmith, to say his entire name here, Pascal Siakam, and the same with Miles Turner. Miles Turner and that two-man game with him and Tyrese Haliburton is going to be key in this matchup. You have to find the mismatch opportunities. Like I mentioned before, it's not many. OKC doesn't have a terrible defender. Rick Carlisle, he was picking on Jalen Brunson. He was picking on Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland. He was picking on Dame before he went down that torn Achilles injury. And especially when Dame went down, they were still targeting certain players with the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, don't get it twisted. Tyrese Haliburton, he blew right past Giannis, one of the best defensive players in the NBA. So they can blow past their opponent over and over again. But the transition offense is going to be the key here in that two-man game with Tyrese Haliburton and Miles Turner. They need Miles Turner to go out there and show that he has a consistent three ball early on to get Isaiah Hartenstein off the court. So now you can get the ball down low to Pascal Siakam. And Aaron Nesmith, I don't expect for him to go out there and have 6 threes in a quarter like how he had against the New York Knicks, but he can come out guns blazing. If he can hit some very good threes early on, and the same with Andrew Nembhard, there's a good chance that the Pacers could possibly win this series. I know that sounds crazy, but look, they went out there and they beat the New York Knicks. They came back from a huge lead in game 1. They took that series away from them. They beat the Knicks in such convincing fashion, the Knicks just fired their head coach, Tom Thibodeau. They went against the Milwaukee Bucks. We can talk about the injuries. That's a veteran team. They still went out there and they beat them. The Cleveland Cavaliers, they took a game away from them when Donovan Mitchell damn near had 50 points. He had 48 points, and they still found a way to come back and win that matchup. They're battle tested. And like I mentioned before, Rick Carlisle, he has that veteranship on his side. This doesn't get talked about enough. We always look at the players. We look at Shea, Cason Wallace, Isaiah Hartenstein, Chet Holmgren. We look at all those players. But we rarely ever look at coaches in a one-on-one matchup here. Now, I don't want to go off the regular season. I know what the Pacers weren't able to do against OKC in the regular season. The New York Knicks, they weren't able to go out there and beat teams like the Celtics, OKC, and the Cavaliers in the regular season. They just went to the Eastern Conference Finals. So you can really throw the regular season out the window here. But the shooting splits have to be up to par against OKC. And the one thing that I'll say about the Pacers and their offense that I love is very free-flowing. Every player can create their own shot. And I've said this before, Tyrese Haliburton, he can give you 30 points any given night. Andrew Nembhard, he can give you 15 to 20 points. Aaron Nesmith, he can go out there, he can give you 25 to 30 points if you're not careful. Pascal Siakam, he has the ability to go for 30 to 35 points. Miles Turner can be very effective with having possibly 20 points to 10 to 15 rebounds. I'm not saying that's going to happen against OKC because historically this is a great defense. But if you can get them on transition, and you can get them into bad situations and get them into bad movement, the Pacers, they could come away with this thing. And they're known for their depth. TJ McConnell against Alex Caruso, that has primetime TV written all over it. We have 2 aggressive players here. TJ McConnell is annoying as hell in terms of just putting a lot of pressure on the rim, hitting those threes. Look at what he did against the New York Knicks. You have Alex Caruso. He's known to just go out there and just basically be a hair in your eye. Stick to the offensive player, pick you up from 94 feet, similar to how the Pacers did with Jalen Brunson. That's what Alex Caruso can do. So it'll be very interesting to watch him match up with Tyrese Haliburton, and the same with TJ McConnell coming off the bench. You look at Ben Shepherd. He could come in. That's an extra body that you could put on Shea. And Ben Mathurin. Mathurin was able to come in. The last 3 games against the New York Knicks, he performed very well off the bench, averaging 20 points a game in that split on good efficiency. And he's a great defender. And you have Obi Toppin, who can get to the rim on a consistent basis. They even had Thomas Bryant come in and hit down corner threes in Game 6 against the New York Knicks. So the bench pieces here for the Pacers, they're excellent. They're amazing. But it's going to be very important to see that every single player can create their own shot and just basically not go out there and get frustrated with the defensive adjustments by OKC. And that's what happened with the Timberwolves. They forced the Timberwolves to get into bad situations with Julius Randle. Julius Randle will have an amazing first half. In the second half, he was a non-factor. Anthony Edwards did have 2 very good games. After that, he was a non-factor. Look at the Pacers here. You don't have to worry about one person going out there and scoring 30, 35 points every single night. You have a bunch of go-to guys. As far as the defense for the Pacers here, you have to make sure your transition defense is up to par. Just like how the Pacers have an amazing transition offense, OKC can do the same thing, especially if you turn the basketball over. And both of these teams, they're amazing at taking care of the basketball here. With all that being said, I know that a lot of people, they have the Pacers losing in 5 games, may have them losing in 6 games. I have OKC winning this series in 7 games. I think that they'll come out early on. It's going to be a good series. They're going to go back and forth. But the Pacers have shown they can play elite defense. It's not consistent like OKC, but look at what they did against Jalen Brunson. They'll trap him. They'll double team him. If it goes to 6 games, that means that J-Dub went out there and he had a phenomenal series and he was able to step up on the offensive end all the way through. And I look at Chet Holmgren. Can he go out there and can he knock down those threes on a consistent basis? But I do have OKC winning this series in 7 games. But let me know in the comment section below, who do you have winning this series, OKC or the Indiana Pacers? If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you like the video, hit the like button. Most importantly, want each and every last one of you guys stay safe, stay positive. Thanks for the video, guys. God bless. Peace.